I was given exactly 7 days to leave the apartment I had lived in for 15 years. My mother-in-law didn't even bother saying hello. She simply walked into my kitchen, dropped a stack of legal papers onto the table, and said flatly, "Start packing." Behind her stood a notary and 2 witnesses, like silent decorations meant to make the threat feel official. I slowly set down my coffee mug, the one that said, "World's Best Mother-in-Law." She had given it to me when we first moved in. "I'm taking the condo back," she added. "It's legally mine." My hands didn't shake, my heart didn't race, because for 3 years, I had been waiting for this moment. When Ethan and I were younger, barely 30, we rented a tiny bedroom in an aging house outside Seattle. The radiator clanged all night, the floors tilted slightly toward one corner, and if you stretched your arms out, you could nearly touch both walls. We were broke, exhausted, and ridiculously happy. I worked as an accountant at a mid-sized construction company. Ethan managed building sites and came home smelling like sawdust and cold air. Every month we saved what little we could, though owning a place of our own felt like a distant fantasy reserved for other people. Then one Sunday, his mother Patricia invited us over. She cooked enough food for 10 people: roasted chicken, buttered green beans, fresh bread, a homemade cherry pie. Halfway through dinner, she placed a folder on the table with theatrical care. "I have news," she said, smiling. Inside were property documents. "I bought you a condo. 1 bedroom, not downtown, but in a good neighborhood. Young couples need a nest." Ethan's eyes filled instantly. I threw my arms around her. "We don't even know how to thank you." She squeezed my hand gently. "No need for thanks, just one small thing. Let's keep it in my name for a year or 2. Tax advantages. Then we'll transfer it. It'll practically be yours anyway." We didn't hesitate for a second. We were too busy feeling like the luckiest people alive. We moved in during the middle of January. Snow piled against the sidewalks, and our breath fogged the air as we carried boxes upstairs. The condo was terrible. Peeling wallpaper straight out of the 1970s, mustard yellow cabinets, leaky faucets, windows that whistled whenever the wind picked up. But standing in that empty living room, Ethan pulled me into his arms and whispered, "We'll make it beautiful." And we did. Every weekend turned into a renovation project. Every vacation became construction time. I painted the walls soft ivory to make the space feel bigger. Ethan tore out ancient wiring, grumbling about whoever had installed it decades ago. We financed new plumbing, replaced the windows, assembled kitchen cabinets until 2 in the morning while arguing over instructions that made no sense. I still remember the smell of fresh paint, drywall dust in my hair, the ache in my back. Once, I found Ethan asleep on the floor, still holding a power drill. After about a year, I cautiously mentioned transferring the title. Patricia laughed. "Oh, honey, what's the rush? You live there. That's what matters. A name on paper doesn't change anything." Sometimes she sent us money, $1,000 here, maybe 2. We were grateful. So we kept building. What I didn't understand then was painfully simple. We weren't building our future. We were increasing the value of her investment. The first crack appeared about 5 years later when I was pregnant with our second child. Our daughter Sophie was 3, and the condo suddenly felt impossibly small. Toys took over the living room, a crib squeezed into the corner beside our pull-out couch. One Sunday, Ethan carefully said, "Mom, maybe it's time to transfer the condo to us. We could sell it and upgrade to something bigger." Patricia froze mid-bite. "Sell it? My condo? You called it a gift." "A gift means you can live there, not sell it," she snapped. "I didn't raise you so you could leave me homeless someday." She didn't answer our calls for months after that. When things finally smoothed over, we never mentioned ownership again. But something had shifted inside me. Quietly, I began saving every receipt: contractor invoices, loan statements, appliance warranties. Ethan teased me about it. "Opening a renovation museum?" "Just being careful," I'd reply. Intuition rarely announces itself loudly. It just whispers, prepare. Years passed. We replaced bathroom tile when it started cracking, installed hardwood floors, added air conditioning, bought new appliances, a security door, better insulation. Every dollar we earned seemed to flow straight into that condo. Meanwhile, the neighborhood transformed. New schools opened, cafes appeared on every corner, a light rail station was announced nearby. Property values climbed fast. And whenever Patricia visited, I caught her studying the place with a calculating gaze, the way investors look at stock charts. 8 years after moving in, we tried again. Another explosion. "If I decide to sell, that's my right," she shouted. And in that moment, the truth settled cold and heavy in my chest. It had never been a gift. It was leverage. We were trapped, unable to afford renting somewhere bigger, yet pouring money into property we didn't own. So I went to see a lawyer, alone. "Document everything," she told me. "If this turns into a legal conflict, you can claim unjust enrichment. 15 years of residency matters. Prepare now, not later." From that day forward, I photographed every receipt and backed them up online, built spreadsheets down to the penny. By the time Sophie started high school, our documented contributions had passed $300,000. The condo itself had nearly tripled in value. Patricia knew it. I could see it in her eyes. Then came March. Ethan called me at work, his voice shaking. "Come to Mom's, now. Something's wrong." I imagined ambulances, hospitals. Instead, Patricia opened the door glowing with health and satisfaction. "I sold the condo," she announced calmly. "Closing is in 2 weeks. You'll need to move out." For a moment, my brain refused to process the words. "That's our home," I whispered. "It's my property," she corrected. "I let you live there for 15 years, rent-free, and you still haven't managed to buy anything of your own." Ethan knocked his chair over as he stood. "We built that place." "You improved my asset," she replied coolly. "It's worth nearly $900,000 now. I'm even planning to help you by buying something smaller, farther out." Then Ethan did something I had never seen before. He cried, not quiet tears, but the broken sobs of someone whose reality had just collapsed. On the drive home, we didn't speak. Inside the condo, he stared into the kitchen we had assembled with our own hands. "I thought she loved us," he said hoarsely. "She does," I answered softly. "Some people just love money more." Then I opened the closet, reached to the back, and pulled out a thick folder. "Don't cry," I told him. "I have a plan." The next morning, I filed a lawsuit seeking compensation for unjust enrichment, renovations, appreciation, damages. Over $400,000. We requested an immediate lien on the condo. 3 days later, the sale collapsed. The buyers disappeared overnight. A week later, Patricia stormed into our home with a notary, clearly expecting fear. Instead, she found me calm. "Are you sure you want this fight?" I asked. "You sued your own mother-in-law," she shouted. "Mom," Ethan said quietly, "she's right." I slid the settlement papers toward her. "You transfer the condo to us. We drop the lawsuit. We pay you $60,000, nearly a third of what you originally invested. Clean break." Her face drained of color. "I don't have that kind of money." "Then this is your best option." She left furious. 3 days later, she called. "Let's meet, just you and me." At a small cafe, she looked smaller than I had ever seen her. "I'm not greedy," she said after a long silence. "I'm scared. I'm getting older. What if I get sick?" I didn't want to become a burden. I wanted to stay necessary. For the first time, I didn't see a villain, just a frightened woman trying to control life the only way she knew how. "I would have helped you," I said. "We always would have. But you chose profit over family." Tears slid down her cheeks. I was wrong. Understanding someone doesn't erase the damage. "Sign the papers," I said gently. "We'll keep peace for Ethan's sake, but trust won't come back." She nodded. 2 days later, the condo was legally ours. No conditions, no hidden clauses. Ours. 8 months have passed. Ethan still calls her once a week. visits on holidays, but the warmth is gone, like a house after the heat's been turned off. Some fractures never fully mend. She phoned recently and asked me to visit. I was afraid of being useless, she admitted quietly. I thought if I controlled the condo, I'd always matter. I didn't answer, because justice often carries a bitter aftertaste. On my way out, I paused in the hallway and leaned against the cool wall. Victory wasn't sweet, but it was necessary. Revenge doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes it lives inside a folder full of evidence, proof that you were never naive. Sometimes it's simply the knowledge that you protected your children, and that is the only victory that truly matters. The ficus by our window has grown nearly to the ceiling over those 15 years. I still water it every week. It reminds me of something life teaches most people too late. Kindness needs wisdom, and trust should always come with paperwork.